Hey guys, I'm back with a whole different type of video. I'm taking a break from 2nd Peter and I'm already done with Hosea and all that, so I'm just going to look at just 3 verses out of the book of Proverbs. Chapter 8, verses 10 through 12, if you want to read along. I'll be reading out of the ESV, but I'm sure there are other good versions out there to read, so if you like one better, just interpolate the differences for yourself. Verse 10 says, "Take my instruction instead of silver, and knowledge rather than choice gold. For wisdom is better than jewels, and all that you may desire cannot compare with her. I, wisdom, dwell with prudence, and I find knowledge and discretion." Now, one quick thing I want to point out real quick. Verses 10 and 11 is not being spoken by wisdom herself. Verse 11 is. Verse 12, my bad. So yeah, that last verse I just read is wisdom herself speaking. The other two are not. Just to clear that up, first of all. Now, I read these verses a while back, and for some reason I kept feeling I needed to go over it again and again and again, but I wasn't sure why. And after a little bit of deliberation, I finally just decided to pull my phone out and I started Googling the definitions of some of these key words. The first of these that I looked up was wisdom. It says, the definition of wisdom is the quality of having experience, knowledge, and good judgment. The quality of being wise. Pretty straightforward here. And apparently I read this in a different version than the ESV originally, because in that version it says shrewdness, but the version I've got, ESV, says prudence instead of shrewdness. I looked up the definition of shrewdness for this one, just because I like that word better than prudence for some reason. It says the quality of having or showing good powers of judgment. And moving on to the word knowledge. It's defined as facts, information, and skills acquired by a person through experience or education. The theoretical or practical understanding of a subject. And lastly, we have the definition for discretion. The quality of behaving or speaking in such a way as to avoid causing offense or revealing private information. So, with that being said, let's discuss those. I'm going to go over these one more time through the whole thing. It says, "Take my instruction instead of silver, and knowledge rather than choice gold. For wisdom is better than jewels, and all that you desire cannot compare with her. I, wisdom, dwell with prudence, and I find knowledge and discretion." So we see the first speaker here is clearly placing wisdom of a higher caliber, a higher value than silver or gold, things that typically define wealth in our understanding. And wealth itself is, of course, what so many people pursue solely. And he's trying to illustrate that wisdom is even more important and is more worth our pursuit. And he goes on to say that that all that you may desire, cannot compare with her. She is so much better than everything else. And of course, lastly, in verse 12 it says, "I, wisdom, dwell with prudence." The word "dwell" here is meant to suggest living with, or being in close quarters with. I'm assuming that if you dwell with people in your same household, whether it be friends, family, or roommate, whatever, you probably get along with them fairly well. And even if you don't, you do your best to make sure you do get along as best you can, because you live with them. They know where you sleep. You have to see them every day. You have to deal with them every day. So if you totally wreck the relationship between you and that person, it's going to be miserable living with them. But as long as you're conscious to keep the relationship healthy and alive, it'll bless you both. So, with that being said, somebody you live with or dwell with should be someone you go hand in hand with, that you mesh well together. And here we see wisdom saying that she dwells with prudence, as it says in the ESV, and it says shrewdness in whatever version I read when I first went through this. That they go together, that wisdom and either prudence or shrewdness, either one of them dwells with wisdom, that they go hand in hand together, that they are they're under the same roof, they're under the same authority, the same godly authority. They were made to go together, like peanut butter and jelly. And wisdom continues to go on to say, and I find knowledge and discretion. Of course, finding involves seeking, that you go after and actively pursue something. And what wisdom is pursuing, and what we should be pursuing if we have wisdom, is knowledge and discretion. Again, these two things are just byproducts of wisdom. If you get wisdom, and wisdom is chasing after knowledge and discretion, you in turn will start to look after knowledge and discretion. So, with those verses being read a couple of times over and definitions given, it's really changed the way I've looked at those few verses, and I'll never look at them the same way again. And I hope that this was as revolutionary to you as it was to me. Hope you got something out of it. Thanks again for watching. So, we'll see you next time.